Welcome to the talk show Promising Bangladesh, sponsored by Crown Cement. And this is Sinha M. Sayeed anchoring this very talk show. Viewers, today we have two guests. One is Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman. He is a YouTuber, at the same time political analyst and political leader also. How are you, Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman?
Thank you, I'm fine. Thank you for having me here.
Other being Mr. Mostafa Kamal Majumder, editor, Greenwatch, and he was also editor the Daily New Nation, one of the leading English newspaper in Bangladesh.
Thank you very much.
How are you, Mr. Mostafa?
Fine, thank you.
Well, Mr. Mostafa Kamal, you know very well that election to the Upazila are going on, and these elections are scheduled to be concluded in 4 phases. It is already on. And centering this election, so many things are going on, especially the ruling party has passed instruction to its different channels and wings so that people within the fold of Awami League are not grapple with all the things. But nobody is abiding by the instruction. What is your understanding about the whole thing?
You see, the Upazila elections in 139 Upazilas are being held today. According to preliminary reports, attendance has been thin so far. Almost the time of closing the voting has come. As like the national election, it seems local elections generally generate more interest because local people take part in it. They have their local interests, conflict of interest, etc., etc. But this time it looks different. Although there has been a lot of interest among the members of the Awami League and their supporters, etc., the lack of participation from the opposition. It is the MPs who control the allocations of the Upazila operations and even their disbursement. So their interest is very vital. But even then, as far as the reports coming from the districts say, even though there has been some minor clashes, for instance, in Cox's Bazar, there has been clash between rival candidates. The attendance of voters does not appear to be very great. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman, you listen to Mr. Mostafa Kamal. What is your overall study? Because you are one of the leading YouTubers and a very vocal voice in social media. Yes.
Thank you very much. I believe this Upazila election is a pure disaster for the government. I strongly believe in that. At least 2 myths have been busted that was created by the government for a very long period. I'll talk about the more important one later, but first myth is our election commission is omnipotent. This is the way they tried to attract opposition to come to the election. When they talked about some caretaker government, the restoration of caretaker government, then from government's point of view, we heard several times that you've got a new rule, a law, and a new commission has been created, and it's omnipotent. All the administration police is under this commission's control, so they can do whatever they like. Now my question is, if the relatives of MPs and ministers take part in the election, and if they break any law, there is some law enforcing agencies, isn't it? They can take steps against them. They can take steps even against those people, like MPs or ministers. They can do that. But why the party called that, which is unconstitutional and illegal, to discontinue the candidateship of the relatives of those people? That means it utterly failed. I repeat, the Election Commission utterly failed to control the field. So the myth, the Election Commission is omnipotent, is busted. If they were able to do that, it was not at all necessary for Awami League to say that you should not take part in the elections. Second disaster, which is more important, I believe, is the authority of Prime Minister on grassroots is severely challenged. Bangladesh is an authoritarian regime, I believe. Some call it a hybrid regime, or some call it partly free, whatever it is, but I believe it's an authoritarian one. In all the authoritarian regimes, there's a narrative created around some person in the power. Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister, is very strong. She can handle everything. She can manage everything. She can manage all the power centers within the country and abroad. So this is how the myth or the cult is created. She supervises everything from very tiny matters. You've got some ministers, but the ministers say that Prime Minister is supervising everything. So this is the cult. But when Prime Minister told that the relatives should not take part in the election, nobody, in fact, bothered to hear that. I can give a statistics. In the first two phases, 60 relatives of ministers and MPs were in the election in chairman candidate. Out of them, only 3 refrained from the election. So out of 63 means 5%. Later on, the government or the ruling party, even the Prime Minister told that by relatives they tried to mean the exclusive family, sons or daughters and spouse. But still there are 10 spouse and sons and daughters are in the elections. That means the grassroots of Awami League is now that desperate to have their own people on those local governments that they are not at all bothered to hear to Prime Minister. So they thought that having their own people will ensure their candidature in the future, and they can, in future, they can hand the responsibility or the position over to their relatives in the future. So it's a very high stake game, and this is the reason they even don't bother to obey the orders of Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mostafa Kamal. And do you think that it was election without participation of the opposition, especially the BNP and other parties there? What is the ultimate future of this local government in Bangladesh?
You see, BNP has not been participating in elections for 15 years. If this term goes like this, it will be 20 years after 5 years. I don't think this will make any difference. The only thing is people's participation will continue to decline. In the last general election, about the percentage of votes cast, the opposition said it was maximum 5 to 10%. The election commission ultimately said it was 41%. Even if it is 41%, by some standards, say Turkey, the Latin American countries, they arrange a second round of voting if the winning candidate does not get more than 50% of the elections. And here, all the votes cast together make only 41%. So from moral and ethical ground, questions can be raised whether those who are elected really represent the people, 41%. And in the opposition election, I don't know what will be the case, but the general trend is very little participation of the people. The opposition has not gone there, and only it's a contest between Awami League candidates. And the small parties have got a very sorry figure in the national election. They will do so also in this election. Some parties like Islami Andolon in the past did participate in the election. I think they are not participating this time. They are with the opposition movement. You may raise a question of legitimacy. So who cares? There is an election has been held. So these are the representatives of the people at the Upazila level, and I don't think this will make any difference from the past. This will go on like this, unless the opposition can make any impression that the election has not been up to the mark, and I don't think opposition is now in a position to do that. All they are trying now is to get the leaders released from jail. And yes, one after another, the leaders are being released by the government. So I don't think there will be any big difference that BNP is not taking part in it. It will continue to remain away from any kind of power. My thinking is like this: even if BNP did not officially take part in the election, it should have allowed its workers to take part. Because in politics, not all candidates operate at the same level. Some candidates will contest the parliamentary elections. Some will contest the village election. Village, I mean ward level election to become a member of Union Parishad. Some will contest for the post of chairman of Union Parishad. So why you stop those who will contest Upazila elections, Union Parishad elections from contesting polls? Because they are not going to contest the parliamentary elections. If the parliamentary elections stopped, if you think you have any objections here, they would have done better if they had participated in the local level elections. That would have, government also did not sincerely try to bring them to the election. They rather thought it's better that they don't come. The elections battle will be crossed very easily without much hurdle, and they will see their people elected easily. Another thing, from the BNP point of view, why they have not contested the election, what they will do if, say, for instance, 100 Upazila chairmen were elected, would they have succeeded to work as per their wishes? Would they have been independent? No, because the administration is controlled by the ruling party. The MPs are from the ruling party, and this is a local government body which cannot defy the administration. They can always file cases and remove them from the post if they want to. So from that point of view, I think even within these limitations, it is my personal belief they should have taken part in the election. But their non-participation will not make any difference.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mostafa Kamal. Well, viewers, we're going for a short break. Please keep watching. Welcome to the talk show from Bangladesh. We are at the second phase, and we are having talks with Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman, political analyst and a vocal voice in social media from the point of view of being a YouTuber. Other being Mr. Mostafa Kamal. He is a renowned editor and journalist in the field of journalism in Bangladesh. Well, Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman, you know very well the political landscape in Bangladesh is passing through a very critical stage and dilemma. Nobody knows what is going to happen in the next phase, but everybody expecting good thing for all. And taking all this in this one stock, BNP is going to overhaul the whole thing from the point of political agitations and studies, whatever it is. And they are expecting a big rally on 10th of May this month. And still it is not sure whether they will have permission from the government or not. What is your overall analysis?
Thank you. It's a very important question in recent times because BNP's legitimacy perhaps is a bit confusion, I must say, because it's the largest opposition party in our country, and any significant movement against the government can be organized and portrayed by BNP. No other political party has that capability. That's for sure. But the problem with this party is, BNP says, and most of the people who don't support the government believe that this government is in power for 10 years at least without having a good election. In fact, in 2014 and 18, and they started again after 24. If they can pass 5 years, it will be 15 years without any credible elections. So people believe in that. So our government is in power for 8.5 years, 10.5 years without elections. I believe in that way as well. But they are not able to create such pressure on the government that the government is compelled to hold a free, fair and acceptable election. So it's a failure of BNP. We know the government is using its state apparatus to coerce BNP in many ways. BNP faced extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, custodial torture, some cases which were totally illegal. They were in jail, they were on the run. Many ways they were tortured, undoubtedly. But the general people think if you are interested to fight against an authoritarian regime, you have to face that and you have to find out your own way. So now, in fact, BNP is in that challenge. Another 5 years. Will it be another 5 years? I believe if they cannot give hope to their activists even, lots of their activists may not be that active within a very short period. It's not at all possible for most of the activists to wait another 5 years. They have been suffering for 10 years. They have to go to courts, even those are not imprisoned. They have to go to court for their different types of necessities. Sometimes their cases are going on. I found many activists are having 100 cases, 115 cases. So they are in tough situation. Waiting for 5 years is almost impossible. At the same time, those people who don't support BNP are not BNP activists, but believe that Bangladesh should be running a democratic way. There should be a credible and acceptable elections for change of the governments. Those people will also lose their all sorts of belief in BNP. They might think that yes, BNP may be a good party, they've suffered a lot, but they're not that capable to challenge this authoritarian regime.
Okay, thank you very much. I will come to you again. Mr. Mostafa Kamal, what is your opinion?
Okay, thank you. I agree with most of what the brother has said, but I think BNP is suffering not for 10 years, for 15 years. The former Indian president himself said how they helped the 2008 elections to go in favor of Awami League, and how he assured the Moin Ahmed that he will be safe and he will not be in trouble in case the Awami League comes to power. So it's not 10 years, it's 15 years.
And plus 2 years caretaker, so 17.
17 years.
17 years.
And then those 2 years also went mostly against BNP, because though I heard the caretaker people discussing among themselves and even discussing with journalists like us, that at least the opposition leader has assured us that she will give legal coverage to what they have done, whatever they have done. She accepted she promised to give them legitimacy if they come to power. So they are suffering for 17 years, and another 5 years looks likely. But here we have to take into consideration two other things. In today's world, we are not independent, we are interdependent. And to my understanding and to many others, the 24 elections were believed to be held in a free, fair atmosphere, which was not held. So, in such a situation, the geopolitical situation and local regimentation and one-sided administration, one-sided law enforcement, all these things have put them in a really tough situation. Actually, such tough situations are not unexpected in what is called authoritarian government, because authoritarian government behave like this, and unfortunately the neighborhood is not in favor of the BNP. Viewed from that context, they have announced a holding of another rally on the 10th of May. How it will be like, we still don't know. But if we also keep in our mind that on the 14th, Donald Lu is coming to Dhaka.
I will come to that point later, please.
Okay. So they have to show that yes, they are there. They are very much active to get the rights of the people established and to get a free and fair election. Number two, they have also to activate their own workers. Had they participated in the local government elections, these people would have been busy with some activities. Right now, they don't have any activity. What they will do? I agree with Mr. Zahed that how they keep their workers active, because they don't. Political parties are for participation in elections. BNP is not a revolutionary party. It does not have an armed wing. It does not have a plan to attack the law enforcement agencies or attack the government people. They're a democratic party, a bourgeois party. They will not be able to operate like that. That calls for a new set of people. They have to remain undergone. So what activity they will do? They have to take part in the election, or they have to take part in demonstration. So BNP has taken the option of bringing them to demonstration. You have rightly said, it's not yet clear whether the government has given them permission to hold the rally. And on Friday, no rally can be held before 2 p.m. because there is the Jummah prayer. So we can assume that the program will be held after 2 p.m., say 4 p.m. like that. But we are yet to wait and see how things shape up ultimately.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mostafa Kamal. Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman, it's a big question to all, whether BLP will be in a position to hold the meeting or not. Because all the previous meetings bear the glaring examples that BNP could not fare well at the final end. If there is no permission from the government, and even if there is a permission from the government, what type of political strategy BNP like to show at this very moment?
Thank you. I'd like to address some points Mr. Mostafa Kamal told. Yes, I agree totally, especially in recent times. No country's politics is fully independent. Totally agree. And what India did after 2+2 meeting of Indian ministers and the United States ministers is very clear. I'd like to tell something to India on this regard. That is, what India is doing in our country is very myopic. They might be benefited for a very short period, but they should consider the context. For a long period, if you think that people will tolerate everything, is utter stupidity. What happened in Maldives? Just an anti-India campaign made some candidate win the president elections. That happened. Even after the parliament election, which was in control of the opposition, they were swept away. So this is the thing. In Nepal, in Sri Lanka, even in Bhutan, they are having some less and less footprints. So they're creating the similar situation in our country. So it's their strategic mistake they'll realize in the future. Now, what BNP should do is, I believe, is you have to engage with all the forces who are playing here. We should be very clear about that. We should not beat around the bush. Bangladesh is in a very good geopolitical position. Many countries are interested to have us with them. Anti-Indian or boycotting Indian products campaign is going on in our country. It's not that necessary for BNP now to directly join to that, but this is a reality that's existing in here. So BNP should, or I better say must, organize big rallies. And I'd like to address some points of Mr. Mostafa Kamal, that is, participating in the UP election is not an option for BNP, I believe. I can give one example to you. When Awami League declared that relatives should not take part, relatives of the MPs and ministers. That was an incident, I believe we can remember. One of the state minister's brother-in-law was participating in election, and he was very eager to win uncontested. There were 5 candidates, 4 agreed with him, but 1 didn't agree, and he kidnapped that candidate. That person was an Awami League person, was the joint general secretary of that upazila. So when Awami League is not permitting another Awami League to participate in the election, and for that reason the ruling regime created pressure on those people not to be in the election, how do we believe that BNP people can go there and get elected? And even after elected, what may happen, that's excellently explained by Mr. Mostafa, but they won't be elected, there's no doubt about that. Rather, when they go for election, they will be tortured, they will face new cases, and new tortures will be on them, undoubtedly. So I think that's not the option, but their option should be, they must be in activism, they must arrange larger rallies, they must show their power to indigenous, domestic conditions, like all the power sectors of the country, all the people of this country. At the same time, it should be shown abroad. And yes, I agree, if the international powers are not fully in favor, it will really be very tough for BNP to win in their fight. And they should try in the both way. They should try to organize that, at the same time try to manage the powers which are who are playing in this sector.
What is your focus, Mr. Mostafa Kamal, on this very point?
Certain things were quite ugly, not only going against the BNP, very ugly things. For instance, you see Salahuddin Ahmed, of BNP leader, who was missing from Dhaka, was suddenly found in Meghalaya. How it can happen? BNP can make a case for that. Why this happened? You find anybody coming near your border to face a shooting, and how this man traveled into your country, and you file a case against him for trespassing, and keep him under arrest for 15, 16 years. These are crystal clear. It's an unfriendly attitude towards the opposition. So this, in the long run, I agree with Mr. Zahed, will help India. In no way it cannot. We are friendly towards India, doesn't mean we are surrendering to India. No, not a single Awami Leaguer will even say this, that let us surrender to India.
Thank you very much.
No, nobody will say
Thank
this.
you very much. Well, viewers, we're going for a short break. Please keep watching. Viewers, we are back to the talk show, and this is our last part, and we were having talks with Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman, one of the leading YouTubers and a vocal voice in the field of social media. He is also a political leader. Another being Mr. Mostafa Kamal, a veteran journalist and editor also. Well, Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman, we know very well Mr. Donald Lu, the person who played a vital role before the elections. And he is the person who sent a letter to the 3 political parties at the fag end of the elections, which is nothing but the mockery indeed in the whole context. And this is his visit after the elections, maybe the 5th visit to Bangladesh. How do you view these things, his visit and the contemporary politics in Bangladesh?
Thank you. It's a very important issue nowadays, though people of this country are a bit frustrated about the USA, because yes, USA tried to have some impact here in our politics. They had tried to do so. One thing we must be clear about that, in international politics and geopolitics, there is no selfless issues. All the countries will work for their own self. USA had the plan to restore democracy in our country. They have their own interests, because they found that in recent times, when you have some authoritarian regime in any country, it's highly probable that it will go in influence of China. It happened in Africa, it happened in some South Asian and other Asian countries like Cambodia. It happened. So USA did have a plan to have some democratic environment in our countries so that China's footstep can be reduced. We should be keen about that. So why did we support USA? Because their interest and our interest matched. It's not at all necessary they are doing some charity here. I can give an example from our 1971. We took the help of Soviet Union because they were in favor of us through India. But was Soviet Union a very excellent country at that moment? The answer is no. In 1968, they invaded Czechoslovakia because Czechoslovakian president did have a plan to liberalize some laws of his country. Since it was under influence of Soviet Union, they invaded and ensured that those are not done. So it was also an hegemon at that moment. But this Soviet Union was in favor of us, so we supported. We had some win-win situation, a symbiotic relationship in that moment. So that exactly happened. Now, Mr. Donald Lu was very famous in our country. He came here individually with his boss, Uzraja. He came here as well. And even when Prime Minister went to the USA, Mr. Donald Lu and Uzraja met her as well. And a bit off topic, but maybe relevant, because Mr. Donald Lu was very famous in Pakistan as well. When Imran Khan had to resign after losing the majority in the parliament, he clearly mentioned one official of the USA, and finally the name came out. It was Donald Lu, who created pressure on those parties which removed the support support on Mr. Imran Khan's party. So what happened is, I've already talked about that. That is, after 2+2 meeting, India's foreign secretary clearly told that they conveyed the message about the ruling regime. They wanted it to work, and yes, USA to some extent stopped bullying this government. So now the question is, won't USA be engaged here? Yes, I believe that their engagement has not been stopped. I can give one or two examples. Number one is, just immediately after the election, the most junior minister, Afrin Akhtar, along with Aylin Labakar, came to our country, and that was the first time they talked to BNP delegates. Before the election, no delegate from the USA met BNP people. So they did it. Number two, Mr. Peter Haas, ambassador of the USA, wrote some column on newspapers of this country and very strongly told that they still will be engaged here in question of democracy, human rights, and freedom of expressions. And finally, in recent times, and they found that the government was very angry with that. That is the report on human rights of Bangladesh published, and it was very tough on Bangladesh. So in that consideration, I might say that their engagement has not been stopped in a big game. Frankly, if they are interested that Bangladesh considers USA as a good or reliable partner, they have to give some crude examples, not only some words, like when you took steps against RAB and its officers, which really helped the opposition to hold their demonstrations and rallies. When they declared the visa policies, it helped us a lot. This type of steps should be taken so that they can restore the belief. Otherwise, not only in our country, in many of the countries, especially other countries like Russia, China, and India, who are talking about multipolar world, they'll use Bangladesh as an example that USA tried to do something but failed. So single party or unipolar world is over. So USA should be careful about that fact.
Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Mostafa Kamal, US believes India is leader in South Asia, and having this concept in the strategy, do you think that America can do something for Bangladesh by passing India?
It's a difficult question. USA did not succeed to promote free and fair elections by passing India only 4 months ago. And the predecessor of Mr. Peter Haas told journalists that USA was looking at Bangladesh with their own eyes, not through a third eye. After 2+2 meeting, or the 2+2 meeting proved, they actually looked through a third eye. The challenge of Donald Lu is to re-establish their, or to regain the confidence they used to have on the people plus the opposition in Bangladesh. They don't have confidence of even the government. The other day, the Prime Minister was loud in telling that she criticized the US for the crackdown on the students in the universities. So the opposition is not at all happy with them, because what has happened in the general election is because of their withdrawing from their position. What are those visas, restrictions, sanctions, everything they have withdrawn?
Yes.
Because of just one pressure from India. I don't believe they will be able to overcome this.
Thank you very much.
Because they want to rely on India to face China. In fact, I will add further. They want India to lead Asia, not merely South Asia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mostafa Kamal. Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman. Sweeping rise and fall American policy towards Bangladesh unfolds the truth. America can never be trusted for it wrong. Do you think this time the visit of Mr. Donald Lu to Bangladesh is carrying something positive for democracy in true sense in Bangladesh, or he is coming to mend something which are lost by this time? Even the visit of Qatar Amir to Bangladesh, it is in the air, might have some connection with the American politics here. What is your profound understanding and realization?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to mention one thing. A great power is never egoistic. A great power becomes great power because it's not egoistic. I can give an example to you. In Venezuela, after a very fraudulent elections, there was a huge uprising against Nicolas Maduro. Millions of people were in the streets. They were patronized to some extent by the West, and especially the USA. But finally, he was in power because China and Russia were very strongly in favor of Maduro. US imposed huge number of sanctions on Maduro and Venezuela. But what happened later, after the Ukraine aggression of Russia, there was a crisis in supply of oil. Mr. Biden went to Saudi Arabia. Despite all the criticisms, he had some bump with Mohammed bin Salman, had a meeting and requested him to produce more oil, but Mohammed bin Salman refused that. Then USA went to Venezuela, to Mr. Maduro, to call him to produce more oil so that I can reduce some of your sanctions. This is how superpowers work. So if they quit Bangladesh, it will be a strategic failure. They should see in that point of view, I believe. So Donald Lu will come here, let's see what he does. At the same time, it's true, when a government is going on, you have to have some negotiations, you can have some business. Bangladesh told that is interested to buy 10 wide-bodied aircrafts from Airbus, and Boeing is now in a bit tough situation. They're also interested to sell them. Even when Cambodia faced sanctions after their fraudulent election, still US minister went there and they tried to engage. So this is the way things go on. They may have some communication with the government, but at the same time they should realize that fact, that defeated image will really be a very great problem for them in the future. So I believe that Mr. Donald will try to engage to other issues which is not in favor of the government.
Mr. Mostafa Kamal, 1 minute, please.
I think US is engaged in many other ways. There is a security cooperation. Under US support, there is a training center in Bangladesh of peacekeeping forces. So under the Pacific Command, this was established way back in the late 90s. So US is trying to engage But the things that the things to fear about that our big neighbor told India in the 2+2 meeting were, if BNP comes to power, then it will be Jamaat, and there will be militancy back in Bangladesh, will be a problem for us. And they will go towards China, which will be a defeat for the Indo-Pacific strategy. So these are the two things, and they, how they took it, I don't know. They at least could not overcome or bypass those things. But yes, US is deeply engaged, and Bangladesh, even if US shows most of its support, that it will do more good to Bangladesh, Bangladesh will never be able to ignore China, because China is next door. They should understand this reality. And even the present government understand that, and it has sought a big loan from China, I think 26 billion yuan. And even after maintaining a very close relationship with India. The thing is, Bangladesh has its own interests. It is a 180 million population. It will not swing like this. It will be here. It has a good military. It has a good or a growing business class. It has a middle class. It has a past. It has a tradition. It's in the Dhaka that the leadership was given to create two independent states in the subcontinents.
Thank you.
And the intellectual leadership came from Dhaka.
Thank you very much.
So with these things, the US should be able to think that these are a people who can stand on their feet.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mostafa Kamal, and thank you very much, Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman. Viewers, we are able to end this talk show, and before ending the talk show, I have to summarize what the two guests spoke and explained here. Viewers, both of them are very much patriots, and from this point of view, they explained and defined so many things from their own standpoint, and they would like to feel free that Bangladesh as an independent country shall raise the head with high image, not hang down in shame. At the same time, Mr. Zahed Ur Rahman believes that America, for the time being, from the point of view of strategic position or view, to some extent is defeated, which has been echoed by Mr. Mostafa Kamal. Whether we stick to this very understanding or not, but thing is that the very visit of Donald Trump to Bangladesh at this moment, very much important, because the Amir of Qatar visited Bangladesh. And Amir of Qatar known as the very strongest person in the Middle East, as an ally of USA. And we don't know what is going to happen at the same time, the election in India. If Mr. Modi again comes to power, and if there is any election, if American context, Donald Trump comes to power, there will be happy alliance between the two and happy marriage. At the same time, the nexus between America, India and Israel cannot be ignored. And taking all these things together, let us feel free. Bangladesh will grow from bigger to bigger scale, and that is the only hope to us. And thank you very much. Meet you again in the next talk show.